Well, we're here with Jane Ingman-Baker today, and we're talking about planning. Jane's been integrally involved in the Dunbar Vision Plan, community plan. She recently spoke on the CBC. I've invited her to speak today about the community plan from her perspective. Jane, do you want to fill us in on some background of the vision plan?
Yes, thanks, Mike. The Dunbar Community Vision Plan came about as part of the city plan process, which was a response really to the problems that had come up with the idea of putting freeways through Vancouver and what might be described as a rather previously paternalistic view towards planning, or the DAD approach, decide, act, defend approach to planning. And so it was the idea of a city plan was that each neighborhood of Vancouver would come together and develop a plan to absorb the incremental growth that we saw coming in the next 30 years into Vancouver. So the plan was award-winning. It's had international attention. I recently have spoken to young planners from both Australia and Sweden about it, and they've looked at this, and they've looked at this issue of community engagement and making those decisions together to preserve and to continue the unique neighborhoodness that we have in our city and to become truly that city of neighborhoods.
What about the argument that we hear about in the media that Dunbar isn't carrying its share of density?
Well, Dunbar did it. Dunbar was one of the very first communities to go through the vision process, and we looked at the parameters, which are still the same parameters that we see today of the type of growth that the city would experience over the next 30 years, and we were asked to locate in Dunbar that 20% increase and to find those additional residential housing spots for people to live in Dunbar. And we identified as a community the way we'd like to absorb that density. The primary absorption was to develop the arterials, which are good transportation links, into duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, and sixplexes, i.e. ground-based townhouse-type development, which would accommodate families at a lower cost and allow them to live in this wonderful green and lush and urban community, and also to continue some of the very unique aspects of Dunbar, a family neighborhood close to the center of the city, close to all the wonderful amenities of Vancouver, and to continue the type of access that Dunbar had given for basically the socioeconomic class that we've had in the past.
Excellent, excellent. Now, for those people in the community that don't have a vision plan, what advice can you offer them in terms of advocating for their communities?
Well, how Dunbar came together was, we had a lot of people engaged, a lot of committees, and we had the advice from other communities, an outside committee that helped us develop the type of issues, the type of questions, to go through to look at our neighborhood and decide what was unique and what we would like to do. And then we went through a lot of discussions, a lot of roundtable meetings, but we came up with a survey. And this was the way that all the community vision plans from 1998 until 2 years ago, the West Point Grey Community Vision Plan was done. We developed a survey and we went out to the community with it. And that survey allowed every householder in resident actually of Dunbar to fill in the survey and to say, what are your preferences? Would you like to land the density? For example, we discussed landing our density as a tower overlooking Pacific Spirit Park. Nobody wanted that. So would you like to land your density on the arterials? Big buy-in to land the density arterials. How would you have other forms? So another form we came up with was the development of coach houses on larger lots with pre-existing heritage homes, so that we could save homes, basically fill in the back of the lot, and that sort of thing. Another aspect that was really important to our community at that time was to provide affordable, supportive housing for the elderly and those who struggle with mental illness. And we agreed that that was such a special case and something that we'd allow that to land in residential neighborhoods. We also looked at the existing zoning and tried to think about how we could get people to uptake that existing zoning, that C2 zoning in our Dunbar North, Dunbar Central, Dunbar South. And then we were able to come together in a big survey, send it out, and we ended up with big buy-in, and we ended up with hard preferences, hard data. And that's exactly the process that West Point Grey went through in very recently, and they had the largest percentage people respond to that survey that the city's ever seen. So we know that it was something that was successful in the late 1990s. It's still successful today, and it's the type of process that allows a community to really get behind a 30-year plan.
And as chairman of the Dunbar Vision Implementation Committee, you have had successes.
We have had successes, and we've had successes on both sides. I mean, the supportive housing unit at Dunbar and 16th was a controversial issue. It was divisive within our neighborhood, but one thing that really helped the people, the caregivers that were coming in there, we have independent caregivers, is it was part of our plan. And our plan was also to consult with the community in matters like this, and we were able to bring that consultation piece to the city and say, before you go for a development permit, let's have an operational management plan. And with those community resources, we were able to pull representatives from the communities, from the school, from the police, to look and design residential policies for that unit, and frankly, it's been successful.
Well, Jane, thank you. On a beautiful, sunny Vancouver day, we appreciate the time you've offered us.
Very welcome. Thank you, Mike, for all you're doing for our city.